All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the webinar this evening. This webinar tonight is designed to help you get started successfully in your Zango business. We actually do this every Wednesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and typically we get people tuning in from literally all over the world. We are part of, again, my name is Mike Rage. I'm actually calling in from a northwest suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm part of the Go Team Trainers team. We put on webinars 6 times a week, opportunity webinars, and then we do this once a week. And we'll also show you at the end of this webinar where there is a recording of this Getting Started webinar. So again, welcome everybody. I know we've got a lot of different types of people on tonight's call. I think we've probably got some people who are already been in Zango and might have, you've probably been in for a while. And, if you're like me, I'm always tuning into webinars, whether I'm delivering the webinar or not. I frequently attend webinars that Anna's doing, or John Stetler, or Art Manville. We have Eric Welch doing the webinar tonight, obviously John David Mann. I'm always tuning in. Sometimes I'm not looking at the screen, but a lot of times I'll be checking email and getting organized for my next day, and I'm just tuning in because I always pick up something from great leaders and things that I can use as I build my Zango business. So I'm sure there's people on tonight that are well on their way in their Zango businesses. We have some people that are probably checking out Zango, and you've probably been on a webinar or two, and you're coming here tonight going, I'd just like to get a little bit more concrete around, what you people do and how you do it. And sometimes I think people come to this webinar expecting to, get the hammer put down and kind of burst their bubble on what we actually do. In other words, in our webinar we talk about the fact that we invite people to look and listen to information, we let the tool make the presentation, and we follow up. There's really not much more to it. The only thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to try to at least start developing some of your skills to do that very, very effectively. And then obviously the number one group on tonight's webinar is those of you who have just joined Zango and just started your business. What an exciting time. I remember being there about 2.5 years ago, and it was just an incredibly exciting time. My wife and I, were just, it was so great to just have something to look forward to. We basically, the way we looked at it, we took the ceiling off of our life and gave us the ability to dream again. And make no mistake about it, this business is a skills-based business. The better your skills, the more successful you will be at building your Zango business. So don't look at tonight as a one-time training and off you go. This business, to be very successful, like the Art Manvilles and the Anna Gabriel Manns of the world, they've gone through some stuff. Everybody has to go through their own personal story on their quest to learn the skills to be successful, and we've all done that, including myself. I've been in this industry since 1993. I was 22 years old. I was actually still in college. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and my first network marketing experience started then. And boy, I could tell story after story. Last week we shared a couple funny stories. One night I was doing a meeting, and a goat walked across the back of the room at this little hobby farmhouse, and what was even more amazing to me is the people hosting the meeting didn't even faze them. It was just like their pet and stuff, and so I just kept, I kept drawing on my whiteboard. Some of you probably know what company I was with. I was out showing the plan. I can think of times where I flew to a meeting. I flew from Minnesota to California to do a meeting for somebody, and even the person that was supposed to be hosting the meeting didn't show up. So was that fun? No, it wasn't. But I've actually been able to work from home other than about a 6-month period since I was 22 years old. I'm 38 years old today. Our oldest kids, our twin boys, are 7 years old, and we literally do everything with them. Obviously they go to school now, but we've been there for every step, every poopy diaper, you name it. So tonight is exciting for you, and there's a lot ahead of you. But the good news is there's a lot of support in this business, and tonight is just the beginning of it. So let's get started. Let's move forward a little bit here. See if I can get my screen to move forward. Oh, this can't be good. I'm wondering if, okay, here we go. Sorry about this, folks. Seems like my computer is going to move forward. It just hasn't yet. Oh, gosh, it makes me so happy that just happened. So anyways, okay, here we go. It starts with you. Getting people started right is job number one. I think there's a lot of people on this call tonight who have been in several different deals. and for whatever reason it didn't work out, or maybe you just had an incredible experience and now you're in Zango and you're going to decide to, put the effort forward necessary to be successful. But I think a lot of times people never get started right. They're signed up and they're looked at as a number. There's a lot of different compensation plans that have these automated systems that just funnel people in. Nobody ever gets to know anybody, and before you know it, you have a group underneath you that you don't even know. Number one, this business is about getting people started right, and success is an inside job. So commit to personal growth. One of my favorite authors is John Maxwell. He says that most people want the perks of leadership but aren't willing to pay the price for leadership. So commit to personal growth. There's a lot of different ways to do that. What you do personally, in other words, what you read, what you listen to, and who you associate with is really going to determine who you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. We want our kids to associate with good people and put good in and watch good TV and read good books. It's important for us to do the exact same thing. So if you have some fears or some things that you need to overcome, commit to personal growth. You're not going to overcome it any other way. And then commit to taking action. Jerry West says you can't get much, of the Utah Jazz, he says you can't get much done in life if you only work on the days that you feel good. Trust me, there's a lot of days that you're going to wake up and everything just isn't jiving perfectly, but commit to taking action. Commit to taking little pieces of action every single day, and then have the mind of an entrepreneur. I think if you have the mind of an entrepreneur, it's going to be a lot easier to commit to taking actions. For example, if you were to invest $10, $20, $30, $50,000 to start your Zango business, I think most people would get busy right away trying to earn that back. The challenge is sometimes you can start your business for 160 to, I think most people probably start their business with some CDs and things like that, anywhere from 160 to 350 bucks. For some people, that's nothing, and for other people, it's a lot. But for a lot of people, that's just not that big a deal. It's a couple of nice outfits. And so it's easy to take your business and postpone it and get to it later and procrastinate and kind of justify why you're so busy this week and that you're going to get to it next week and how you're overwhelmed and, gosh, it's been a crazy week. I'm going to start next week. I'm not going to make those phone calls tonight because it's been such a busy day. It's not going to be built, by sitting down and having one amazing week. It's going to be by taking little pieces of time and using them productively. So you're in business. The other thing is you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. It's kind of like a franchise. Obviously, you're in your own business, which is great. You get to be your own boss, but there's a lot of people willing to help you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. My computer is moving slow. Let's see here. Not sure why. I know we're getting recording this, so Sam, if you think that if your recording is slowing this down, I can't see that it would be, but if you think it might be, you might want to just stop. Anyways, because my screen is kind of messing up here. So the next thing is determining your why. So what are your reasons? Money is abstract. So what specifically is motivating you in your business? In other words, it's typically not a thing like a car or a television or a flat screen or something like that. Everybody has their own why. It's personal to you. At the beginning of every single webinar that I do, I kind of share the family or the story about my family. I've got 2 kids, my boys, and one of the things I would want to do is just create lasting memories for my wife and kids. So your compelling personal why is what will carry you through to your ultimate goals. In other words, when you're having one of those days, which we have them all the time, you want to be able to go back to your why and determine why you're building this Zango business. And if you're new to this business, I would encourage you to share that why with your upline so that they know why you're in this business, so you can communicate with them so that they can help you keep that in front of you. Next thing is, what are your goals? Right here it says, I want my Zango business to be earning how much per month 1 year from today? And I'm always concerned when somebody says 200, and a lot of times I'm concerned when somebody says 20,000. Are there people that have made 20,000 a month in a year? Yeah, there are in Zango. There's probably several people, but honestly, that's not me. I don't know if I brought the same skill sets to the table as Sherman Unkefer and Bob Schmidt, but I could certainly learn what they did, absolutely. So I think that number is probably going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 a month for those of you that are looking at making that type of income. But here's the great thing. No matter what it is, whether it's $1,000 a month or $4,000 a month or whatever it is, if you do that in a year, here's the great news. It's not going to take 2 years to double that income. A lot of times you may triple it because this is a business that's built on momentum. It's exponential growth. In fact, the bigger your business is, the faster it grows. So look at your first 6 months as building a foundation. I always tell people, don't overestimate what you can do in 6 months. Be patient. Don't call your upline in 2 weeks and say, hey, the 3 people I talked to didn't want to do it. Look at the first 6 months as building a foundation. Does it mean you haven't made any money your first 6 months? No, I made quite a bit, actually. I mean, as far as a supplemental income, I was pretty excited about what I earned the first 6 months in my business. But, if you're looking for replaceable type income and things, if you'll keep consistent for 6 months, build that foundation. What do we mean by a foundation? What we mean by a foundation is finding those key 3, 4, or 5 people. And let me just tell you a story. It might be, but it's usually not the first 3, 4, or 5 people that you talk to. We hope it is. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's not. I think a lot of times when you sign up, 4 people, one of them turns out to be a star. One of them turns out to be, pretty good. They look at it more as a part-time thing that they want to generate a little income. I think a third person is just happy using the product, and that's probably all they're ever going to do, and a fourth person will quit. They won't even be around a year from now. And then the next thing you have to determine is how many hours per week are you going to devote. I think a lot of times people throw out numbers there. No, I'm going to devote 20. Truth is, very few people devote 20 hours a week to their Zango business. People that are full-time probably do that, but most people who have a full-time job don't do that. Again, I think that number for somebody who has a full-time job is probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 15 hours a week. But the key is how consistent you are with it. It's about taking the time that you have and doing something productive with it. I have a gentleman on our team who's almost a 20K, and this person is always on the go. He works for a builder here, sells new construction, been a top real estate agent in new construction for about 20, 25 years, and is always busy. And right now is one of the busiest times of his year because they have the parade of homes where all these new homes are on display and things like that, but hasn't missed a beat, has his cell phone with him, takes those cracks and crevices of time. When it comes to doing 3-way calls and things like that, a lot of times he'll say, hey, Mike, let me introduce you to Joe, and then you know what? He just ducks out. But he's a great facilitator. So be honest. How many hours a week are you going to put in? And then commit to doing that each and every week. It's consistency that's going to be the key to your success. So how the business works, this is actually not a sales business. You've probably seen that from our webinars. It's a team-building business where duplication is everything. Your job description is to find 3 to 5 partners who duplicate. Who duplicate what? In other words, when we're talking about duplication, here's just kind of a tip on duplication. A lot of times people come into this business and like, oh, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And the first question you always have to ask yourself is what I'm doing duplicatable? Can the next 10 people I sign up in Zango duplicate what I'm doing? Can an organization of 100, 1,000, 10,000 people duplicate what I'm doing? So the best way to know is if you're ever going to try something for the first time, check up line. Ask a question. Say, hey, Art, I'm thinking about doing this and putting this into my business. Do you think it's a good idea? Because once you put it into your business, it's 10 times harder to get it out of your business. So who duplicate what? Duplicate what? Well, the core of our business is what we call going 1K. It's a title. And every other title within Zango revolves around helping people on your team go 1K. So the core of your business is going 1K. Here's what the technical definition of a 1K is. It's first of all, it's you on what we call ADP. In other words, you've set yourself up to get an automatic delivery of Zango products every single month. In this example, we're using a $200 monthly order. And in order to be a 1K, you have to sponsor 3 people on ADP. So this is Joe, this is Mary, and this is Susie. And guess what? They're duplicating you. They're all signing up on ADP as well, and they're doing 200 as well. A lot of times that happens because they're duplicating what you're doing. Well, the second technical definition of a 1K is somebody who has $1,000 in total volume. Well, if you look at this example here, you have you at 200, and then 200, 200, 200. Well, that's only 800. That's why this fourth person's here, because you have to meet that second qualification, which is 1,000 in volume. So technically, you wouldn't even need that fourth person. Maybe this person over here signed up somebody. So that's all a 1K is. It's entry level. It's very basic. It's not a lot of money, but it is the foundation by which every other pin in Zango revolves around. But before you do that, you actually have to become a Zango distributor. And This is one of our websites that most of us use, and I just share this with you really quickly because you have to get signed up. In order to be a Zango distributor, you have to sign up, and we've had a promotion going since, I can't remember exactly when it started. I think it was January or February, but it expires tonight at midnight. And what it is, for anybody that orders at least $200 in initial product and sets it up on a monthly ADP, automatic delivery program of $200. In this example, we're just using a couple cases of juice, but there's other products. The membership fee is waived. You can see that. You can actually see that right here. It's $0. It's only $35 to become a Zango distributor, but if you would like to save $35 just by signing up tonight, you can save that. So obviously this isn't a hard close because the promotion's been going on since February. I just thought I'd let you guys know that it actually ends tonight at midnight. So that's where you get signed up. And then you have to decide what products you're going to get. I think a lot of people right now are pretty excited about Elavive. A lot of people are starting with Elavive, and then you've got Zango Juice, and you've got the Glimpse Skincare. Not going to go into detail on these things, but the bottom line is, you got to pick some products, and then you'll set it up on some type of monthly delivery program. So why 200 ADP? Why do we use a $200 example versus 100? Well, first of all, it takes half the partners to reach your goal. You can earn 3 times as much money in Power Start bonuses than you can if you do 100, and we'll show you why in just a second. And most importantly, people will do what you do. They'll actually duplicate what you do. And here's the example of what I'm talking about. This is tripling your Power Start bonuses. This is you on a $200 monthly order, and you're going to sign up Joe. And Joe's going to duplicate you. He's going to say, I'm going to do what you do, Mike, and he's going to order $200 in product. Well, you get what's called a Power Start bonus. Remember, if you've been on our nightly webinars, we don't talk about this bonus, but it's pretty significant. So when you sign up Joe orders $200, you get a 30% Power Start or $60. Those checks are actually paid weekly. Now, when you sign up Mary's on your second level. She duplicates what you and Joe are doing. She orders $200, and guess what? Because you're on a 200 ADP instead of a 100 ADP, you get what are called double depth Power Starts. So when Mary signs up, you'll get a $30 check, which is 15% of Mary's initial order. Now, using this example over here, now this is you at 100, okay? And you're going to sign up Joe again. You're going to get that 30%, just like you did over on the left here, and that's $30. But now Joe is going to sign up Mary again, and Mary's going to duplicate Joe, and Joe's going to do 100. But we actually put in here, it says does not qualify, because it's irrelevant what they order, because this person up here does not qualify for second-level Power Starts on Mary because they're only on a 100 ADP. So in this example over here was a $30 commission. Over here, it was a $90 commission. This is just for a couple people coming in your business. We're not talking big growth here, folks. So, what we're sharing here is a lot of times what happens is that second $100 in product is paid for by simply being on a 200 ADP versus a 100 ADP, and it takes half as many people to accomplish the same thing. And then you've got the monthly unilevel plan. These checks are paid monthly, and these are just the commissions, and we'll give you a visual in a second. So just by signing up and ordering $100 in product, you get paid 2 levels deep, okay? By setting it up on ADP, in other words, agreeing to get a monthly shipment. And by the way, folks, it's not a contract. It's not like a thing that you're locked into for life and can't figure out how to get off it, and there's no phone numbers to cancel. It's a pretty simple deal. But by setting it up on ADP, you actually get paid that 3rd level deep. And going 1K, like we just showed you what a 1K was, now you get paid 4 levels deep. And 5Ks get paid 5 levels deep. And just so you know, one of the things I love about Zango's compensation plan is it really revolves around threes. And what I mean by that is all in 1K is what? Remember we talked about what it was. It's 1,000 in total volume and 3 people who are on ADP. The preferred rep is only somebody who is on ADP. All of 5K is, it's somebody who has 3 people that they've personally sponsored reach 1K and a total of 5,000 in volume. All of 20K is somebody who's personally sponsored 3 5Ks and 20,000 in volume. Here's what's cool, though. A Premier, it's 2 20Ks and 1 5K. So really, the average Premier makes $10,000 a month. Really what it is, it's 2 superstars and 1 kind of coming on person. So you can really have a pretty nice income with Zango with 2 really nice legs, and you get paid 9 levels deep and beyond. We're not going to go into the beyond part tonight, but just rest assured, Zango's compensation plan pays 9 levels and beyond, something called compression, and we can get you a DVD that you can take a look at there. And this is just a visual example of what we just showed you. This is your first level, this is your second level, and this is your third level. And if you've seen our webinars before, you probably remember this example. This is, your first level here. This is your second level, 25, third level, 125. It'll never grow this evenly, but we're just using a $200 example, and these are what your monthly checks would be. Okay, and so on. As your organization grows, that's your monthly check. And then one of the things we're not going to talk about too much tonight, we're not going to talk about the quarterly checks, but rest assured they're pretty big. I mean, once you become Premier, 100K, 200K Premier, you're actually going to be able to share in the worldwide profits, worldwide sales of the entire company, prorated based on the size of your business as it compares to the rest of people at your level. It's a prorated share. So pretty exciting stuff that you'll get. Those checks actually are paid quarterly. So where do you start? Well, you start by signing yourself up on ADP. Step one is get yourself on 200 ADP. And, there's people probably on this webinar tonight, and you're on 100 ADP. You're going, man, should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Well, let me just give you a perspective. If you're going to do it, tell yourself you're going to do it. Okay? In other words, subconsciously, by doing 100, you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I know that's kind of harsh to some people, and you know what? Nobody's going to be mad at you if you still do 100. They're not going to treat you any different. What I'm just coaching you on tonight is for success, is the fact that, we teach a 200 model because it maximizes the compensation plan. It tells people that you're in this for the long term, and it tells yourself that you're in this for the long term, which is actually the very most important thing. So if you're going to do this thing, do this thing. Step one is get yourself on 280p, and I'm always amazed at the person that is on 280p and 2 weeks later, man, my other product order's coming real quick. Can I pause it? Can I change it? Can I cancel it? I'll get back on next month. They're just, it's just all that indecision, and the kind of the tip on that is one of the reasons some people are successful and others aren't is because you can't fake success. People want to get into business with people that know where they're going. And if you have indecision in your own mind, it's tough to convey confidence to other people. This is a leadership business. It's a skill development business. So step 2 in the lower left is to sponsor 4 partners each on 200 ADP. Now remember what we talked about? That's just one way to become a 1K, okay? 3 legs on ADP and a total of 1,000 in volume. So that's where to start. And the core of this business, it's not a sales business. It's a team-building business. 5Ks, 20Ks, 50Ks, 100Ks, like Anna and John, are all built out of 1Ks. Art Manville, when he went 500K, you know what? It came down to helping somebody in his organization go 1K. That was kind of a revelation to me, because as I looked at this, I go, wow, Anna's 100K. That seems like a lot of volume. Well, it is. It's quite a bit of volume, and she runs a lot more volume than that. But it's all built out of 1Ks, which is a very small piece of the puzzle. You can help anybody go 1K and just duplicate it over and over and over and over again. So if you don't think you can go 100K, think, can I go 1K and help people go 1K? And the answer is yes. So people do what you do. So I plan to go 1K by, and put a date on that. Well, we're on September 30th. I'll give you a hint on what your date should be there. October 31st. That's a hint. That's right on. There's a reason for that, actually. And you know what? If you're on this webinar for the second or third time and you've already started your business and you missed your goal, here's what I encourage you to do: is don't feel bad about it. Draw the line and just start. Okay, start implementing what you probably already know that you can do. So you plan to go 1K by when? Well, going 1K in your first month is important to getting your business launched, because people tend to do what you do at the speed at which you do it. So if you do it in your first full month for sure, people look at it and go, man, that doesn't seem that hard. If you did it, I can do it. And it kind of sets the tone for your business. So your partners, where are you going to find them? You've got your hot market, friends, family, etc. Your hot market is a little warmer than your warm market. It's sometimes what I call your cliff jumpers, people that look at this and go, if you're in, I'm in. And then you've got your warm market. That's kind of your friends and family too, but some of them are hotter than others, but referrals, acquaintances, people you maybe do business with. You've got cold market, leads. And I would imagine there's people on this call from the 3-step plan tonight, which is great. That's actually how I came into Zango. So leads are fantastic. And then people that you meet. Art always calls it your meat market, but we definitely don't look at people like that. But in our daily lives, we come across people that we make a connection with, and those two can be great business partners. But look for people who are friendly, reliable, influential, people that have credibility, and then people that are coachable and industrious. And what I would kind of add to this is be this person yourself. Most importantly, probably the friendly, reliable, and coachable. You can't be influential if, sometimes you maybe aren't in a position of influence, but you can certainly be friendly. You can definitely be reliable, because people, when they join your team and stuff, can they get a hold of you? Are you available for questions? Or can you facilitate the answer to a question? Those types of things are going to keep people on your team long term. I know when I first started my business, I just, one of the things I told Anna, I remember her telling me, now don't miss this meeting that's coming to Minneapolis. Make sure you get there. And I finally had to stop her and say, Anna, don't worry about me. I'm there. I'll be on every Monday training call that our team does. I'll be at the events. Not only will I be at the events, I'll promote them. I'm not going to be a stealth distributor. You're going to know who I am, and your phone's going to be ringing off the hook from me because I'm pretty serious about this. And then be coachable. Be willing to take coaching. I guess what I mean by that is be in a position to be coached. A lot of times people will get in and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Again, remember, your upline's been doing this a lot longer. They have businesses, in some cases in the thousands of people, so a lot of things have been tried. Save yourself some time and money and ask, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And then be willing to listen. So the bottom line is look for people who want it, see it, and do it. And then putting it into action. There's only two kinds of actions in your business. There's business-building actions and support actions. Both are good, but only business-building actions grow your business. What do we mean by support actions? Well, fiddling with your back office on your website, organizing your filing system, all fine because they do support your business, but make sure you focus your time on business-building actions. It's easy to trick your mind into thinking that you're busy doing those types of things and listening to training calls online and stuff like that. And then the business-building actions in our business are the invitation, the presentation, and the follow-up. Those are the things that grow your business. So step one is what we call the invitation. In other words, invite others to look and listen to information about your opportunity and products. And some of you probably have heard about a 22-minute audio floating around from Justin Prince. Justin Prince is a very sharp, I guess I wouldn't say young. I mean, he's probably maybe about my age, maybe a couple years younger or so, but definitely young and energetic and very savvy. But he shared an audio, and we're going to direct you to a website right at the end of tonight's webinar so that you can listen to that over and over and over. But it was excellent, and a lot of the comments I got were amazing. And it's really no different than a lot of your upline has been teaching. But what I want to give Justin credit for doing is putting it in a very simple, easy-to-follow format that anybody can learn from and also present and teach to others. So I'm going to attempt to begin and kind of give you an overview of what was shared on that call tonight, because I think a lot of people on this call tonight you're just getting ready. You're getting ready to start inviting people to the webinars and taking a look at your business. So this is kind of a sample invitation. This is what Justin talks about. And by the way, there's a business CD from Exco Pro called The 3 Components of the System. Doug Weed, one of the top networkers of all time, also talks about this approach, because a lot of times we think, when we're taught different approaches, and I don't think this holds true to our team, but maybe some other experiences that you've had, you sound vague, manipulative, and we all don't want to be that. We want to feel good about what we're doing. So, a sample invite is something like this. It's, hey, Joe, this is Mike. How are you? Small talk, how are the kids? What's been going on? Are they in hockey this year? Whatever. And a lot of times I like to break the ice just to kind of steer the conversation a little bit and say, hey, Joe, do you have a couple minutes? I've only got a couple minutes myself. Now listen to what they say here. This is you. It says, listen, you may be interested, you may not. That's a key phrase you're going to hear over and over again because it takes the pressure off. It relaxes them. Listen, you may be interested, you may not. Not, hey, I don't know if you're interested, and I don't want to bother you, I don't want to bug you. There's a big difference between what I said and what that is. So listen, you may be interested, you may not. And under ordinary, why do we use the word ordinary versus normal? Because the opposite of normal is abnormal. We don't want abnormal situations, but the opposite of ordinary is extraordinary. So you, again, under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't even bring this to you, but it just so happens that I'm working with. Well, what am I getting at here? There's a big question that always comes up, and it's, should I lead with the product or should I lead with the business? In other words, should I go out and give product CDs and samples and brochures to people in hopes that they get a great result from the product and share it with other people, or should I lead with the business? The truth is, in my experience, a lot of people are a lot more comfortable leading with the product, but I don't necessarily think that they're more comfortable. I think the reason most people do it is because they think that's going to be less work. And here's what I mean. What they think is, I'm going to share this product with people. My Aunt Millie is going to get cured from osteoarthritis, and she's going to tell all her friends, and I'm not even going to have to do anything. It's going to be magical. And my network's going to grow, and in 5 years I'm going to have 1,000 people, and I shared it with just my Aunt Millie, and everybody is so excited about Aunt Millie getting cured of osteoarthritis. Now, that's not a product claim or anything like that, but that's why people do it. And so the question always comes up, we were teaching people for a long time, well, lead with the business. If you want to get a customer, lead with the product. If you want a partner, lead with the business. And just because somebody's sick doesn't mean they wouldn't be a good business partner. So the answer is, whether or not you should lead with the product or the business, it's lead with people. Humanize and personalize the people that you work with versus making them out to be a guru. They should cheer for your upline. Well, here's actually what I mean. So let me back up a second here. Listen, you may be interested, you may not, and actually under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't even bring this to you, Joe, but it just so happens that I'm working with. Now, the question is, what are you going to insert there? There's a lot of great upline stories, but for me, it would be something like this. It just so happens I'm working with a couple out of Western Massachusetts, John and Anna Mann. And, remember, it says humanize and personalize. I don't want to say they're the most successful people on earth. John's written books. I want to get that across, but I want to humanize it. Okay? Why? Why do I want to humanize them and personalize them? Because the next step is going to be the follow-up, and you want to introduce them to them. And if they're so intimidated because they're such a guru, they're never going to want to come to that call because they're going to be so intimidated they're going to think that they're going to sound stupid. So, again, but it just so happens I'm working with a couple out of Massachusetts. As a matter of fact, Joe, when I first met Anna, she was laid up on a couch. She had broke her leg so severely that she had her leg on ice literally for like a year, for the first year that I knew her. And oftentimes I'd see her, she was in a wheelchair. But what really intrigued me is she had built the multi-million-dollar international business with really no invested capital and nearly a seven-figure residual income. Now, Joe, I'm sure you agree that anybody that's accomplished that is worth listening to. Well, it just so happens that John and Anna have taken a sincere interest in me, and they've agreed to help me. Now, I have 5 slots. They're going to help me to build this business, and John and Anna are actually experts in the area of network marketing. Now, I'll leave it up to you if you want to bring the network marketing into it. You know what? My attitude is don't be ashamed of it. One of our almost 20 Ks on our team, my approach was confident and it was straightforward. They said, Mike, what are you doing? Mike, what are you doing nowadays? I said, well, I used to be in this network marketing company over here. Here's kind of my story. I'm doing another network marketing company called Zango, and I'm pretty darn excited about it. And he looked at me and said, wow, I'd like to hear about it sometime. I had another guy when I was playing hockey one day. He said, what do you do? I said, I've been full-time network marketing for a number of years. He's like, wow, that's interesting. I've never met anybody that just came out and said that. I said, well, it's what I do. I'm proud of it. So it's all in how you say it. So let's just back up a little bit here. And here's the key point to this here, is when you say you have 5 slots, well, here's the thing, Joe. They're actually going to invest their time, their resources, their money, their credibility and skill sets to help me work with 5 people. And the truth is, Joe, I'd rather work with someone I know, love, and care about than someone I don't know. So what's the point of this? He shares also in this training 4 legitimate business reasons. One of the skills you want to develop and become good at is setting successful appointments. Now, we don't always mean appointments to sit down at a coffee shop. An appointment could be an appointment to come to a webinar where somebody says, hey, Tuesday night at 9 o'clock worked for me. That's an appointment. Meeting at a coffee shop is an appointment. So there's 4 legitimate business reasons that anybody should listen to you. Number 1 is because it always makes sense for great people to meet. Number 2 is life's timing can change. Number 3 is because all good business is referral-based. And number 4 is knowledge and good information is never a disadvantage. So the key phrase is what? You may be interested, you may not. So when questions come, what's it all about, Joe? Well, actually, Joe, like I said before, you may be interested, you may not. And under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't even be talking to you about this. But you know how it is. It always makes sense for great people to meet. Or if somebody kind of puts you up, man, I'm so busy, Joe, things are just crazy right now. Well, like I said before, Joe, you may be interested, you may not. Like I said, under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't even be calling you. But I understand how life's timing can change, and if something ever changes for you, I'd like you to take a look at what I'm doing, because I'd like to be the first phone call that you make. You guys kind of getting the gist on this? See, that's where people get stumped, is they don't know what to say. There's nothing wrong with this. You're connecting people. Justin Prince also said something that was great. If you were, if somebody came to you and said, hey, come over here, let me talk to you about something. I want to talk to you about selling iPhones. These iPhones that people got. Would that appeal to you, or would it appeal to you more if somebody said, hey, would you like to meet Steve Jobs? There's a big difference. You're basically connecting people is what you're doing. So I'm going to move on from this, because right at the end we're going to give you a 22-minute audio that you can listen to, so I don't want to beat that thing to death. But you kind of get the gist of making an invitation. And the invitation is to have them come to an appointment. In our team, what we typically use, our appointment is the webinar. We like it to be the very first tool because it explains more about how we do what we do. The reason I use them as a first look often more than a CD or a DVD or a website is because what was happening a lot of times before is somebody would go to my website and they go, wow, these products sound great, the company sounds great, so you want me to go out and do, skincare parties and juice parties and stuff like that. And now let me just qualify that by saying, if you've got something that's working, don't change it. Don't change it because you're on this webinar tonight, and there's not one right way to do Xanga. We're just sharing what has worked, very effectively on this team. So we like to use the webinars, but the great thing is the tool makes the presentation, not you. And step 3 is follow-up. And if you use a good invite where you humanize and personalize somebody and let people know that, hey, you got an extraordinary opportunity here to work with somebody who's done pretty well, and they're taking their time, skill set, and resources to help you, you're not going to have a problem getting a follow-up. Once they viewed the webinar, hey, Joe, remember that person, Anna, I told you about? I told her a little bit about you. Love to get you on the phone with her. Like I said, she's a great person, and she's devoted her time along with her husband, John, to help me with 5 other people. So what's your schedule look like? And just so you know, for those of you that are brand new, I see it often. When somebody's talking to the people they love and care about most, let's say you're talking to your mom and dad, or you're talking to your brother or your sister, or people that are closest to you, because people tend to start with people that are closest to them. One of the things they don't do is they don't bring a 3-way call, because these are people that you know very well, and the truth is you're a little bit nervous that somebody that you bring a 3-way call to is going to try to close them, and they may embarrass you because it comes across too strong. Just so you know, we don't believe in that on this team. It's all about getting to know that person and helping them decide if it's right for them, and we actually don't believe in closing people. So step 3 is the follow-up. So using webinars effectively, number 1, invite each prospect or future partner personally. No blanket emails. I teach this on my team all the time, and then inevitably what I'll do is, if you guys have a My Mangosteen back office, you can see the activity that your team's doing, and I'll see somebody who sends out 5 or 6 emails saying, hey, Joe, I got into a new business, check out my website. And I'm just going, I just can't believe they did that, because what they're doing, to be honest, is they're blowing through their list. You might get lucky, but everybody has a website. You have to differentiate yourself. It's just a website. They're going to look at it, but they're going to go, okay, so you've got some products. You want me to sell these products? No, thanks. Not for me. But if you get them to a webinar first and then use your website, now they're looking at it in the right frame of mind. It's easier. It would be a lot easier for me to go to my Facebook account and send out 500 emails to people and say, hey, take a look at my business, and hope that I get somebody to go, wow, this sounds interesting, but I'd rather be proactive and do what I'm doing on purpose. So clear their schedule. Find out which one works. Joe, tonight at 10 o'clock work or tomorrow at 9. Complete the registration process for them at www.goteamwebinar.com. That's where our webinars are. That's where our Getting Started webinars are. And then call your prospect within an hour of the webinar. I try as much as humanly possible to call anybody I've had registered for a webinar within an hour before the webinar to be sure they receive the confirmation. Hey, Joe, this is Mike. How you doing? Hey, listen, just want to make sure you got the confirmation. Do you have any questions about connecting to the webinar? You don't? Fantastic. Enjoy the presentation. Follow up with your prospects immediately after the webinar, or no more than 24 hours. Now, your upline has a lot more people on their team, and they can't do 3-way calls with every single person after every webinar. And the truth is, I believe it's important if you can. I think it's a great idea to get to people right after the webinars, but I also think that if people are truly interested, they won't mind talking the next day, okay? And then introduce to your upline via 3-way call. We just talked about that. Oops. So tips for inviting, again, be the messenger, not the message. Resist the urge to pitch and let the tool make the presentation. Know your personal story. Why are you here? When people say, what is it, what do you do, and they prod you, that's your personal story. Listen, Joe, under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't even be talking to you about something like this, but it just so happens. And then tell them the story on how you met that person. Know your upline story. Have 3 or 4 bullet points that you can bring out during the invite process. Sometimes you might say, yeah, and they shared with me a company that's pacing with Google and eBay or whatever. You know, you can pull those out. But the goal, again, be the messenger, not the message. Let the tool make that presentation. And then when they're ready to start, it's just a duplicatable process. 200 PV initial order, 200 PV monthly ADP. Get them registered. When I sign somebody up and say, here's your first step, get on the Getting Started webinar. Sure saves you a lot of time if you can have 10 people on a Getting Started webinar versus having to sit each one down individually. Get them registered for a Getting Started webinar. Make sure they've ordered their tools. Make sure they understand how to invite others to view upcoming webinars. Make sure they're following up with 3-way calls, and help them go 1K. We're going to give you a website right at the end here, so don't worry if you can't write fast enough. Don't worry, because we're going to send you to a website that will help you put to action everything we're winding down with right here. There's some excellent training, weekly training calls. Notice we don't give a time there. Whatever training calls your upline is doing, I know we have some different lines of sponsorships on here, those are the calls that you need to be on. Get on your upline's email list. Wednesday Getting Started webinars. Come to them several times, frequently. They're always evolving. This is for a lot of us, we've only been doing webinars, I guess I've been doing them since February, but the Getting Started webinars have only been around for 2 or 3 months or less, so obviously things are going to evolve and improve. Nightly opportunity webinars. Like I said, a lot of people just tune in. They don't always have to look at it, but even if you're in the business, if you want to learn how to kind of learn the bullet points of what makes Zango great, tune in frequently. It also keeps you in the game. Training website, GoTeamTrainers.com. There's some great audios there. A training CD, which in my opinion is non-negotiable. Key to the Vault is actually versions 1 and 2. Order at x1tools.com. It's done by Bob Schmidt, considered one of the top 3 networkers in the history of network marketing. Listen to that CD over and over and over. The XGO Pro training system. A lot of times I take you to the website. I'm actually not going to take you to the website tonight. But what XGO Pro is, for $29.95 a month, you get a marketing website, you get into complete back office, you get tons of training materials, just audios and stuff that'll just sharpen your skills. But more importantly, for that same price, you get a CD that shows up in your mailbox every single week by some of the top leaders in the entire business. I know we've had some just incredible ones come out recently, and I know Anna Gabriel Mann has one coming out pretty soon. It's just exciting stuff. Again, it's a skills-based business. You have to work on your skills. And the way you learn skills typically in our business is by associating with great leaders. But the nice thing is you can associate with a great leader by listening to them on CD while you're driving to work every single day. You can sign up at xgopro.com. Again, you don't have to remember that because we're going to direct you to a website. To me, one of the most important things you can do, obviously, it's tax deductible. And then you've got live events. You need to make sure that you know when the live events are going on in your area. Don't make your upline track them down for you. You know what? Be proactive in that. I know if you're in Branson, Missouri, you got like 8 events happening between now and the end of December with incredible speakers. A lot of you out in Virginia, boy, it seems like you guys got great meetings all the time. Same with Arizona, Southern California. These are major people coming. Make time to go to these things and bring people with you. And then you've got Thrive 09. That's once a year. Zango does its annual convention. You can learn more about it at zangothrive.com, and it's a life-changing event, folks. I've had people sell golf clubs. I've had people sell CD collections. I've had people have garage sales to do whatever they need to do to get there. Okay, let's kind of put it in perspective. What would somebody do tomorrow if their transmission went out? They'd figure out a way to get it fixed. You need to look at this like that. Okay, if fixing that transmission is a big deal financially, doesn't that stink? Don't you hate that? And don't you just get sick of being in that situation where a transmission bill is a big deal? Well, take that same attitude to get to convention this year. The ticket prices actually go up, I believe. I think they actually go up to tomorrow, and they might only be available at the door. But you can learn more and order your tickets at zangothrive.com. So remember this. Your job is to focus on getting those 4 to 5 business partners. It's not 100 customers. It's not sharing the juice with people hoping they get results. Zango Juice is amazing. Lviv is amazing. It will add fuel to your fire. But trust me on this one. Lead with people, find your business partners, and great things will happen. So after this Getting Started training is to make a list of your top 20 people and email it to your upline or sponsor within 48 hours. Okay, let me say that again. Make a list of your top 20 people and email it to your upline or sponsor within 48 hours. To me, that's kind of a litmus test of whether or not somebody really wants to do this. Now, if you're not signed up yet, I completely understand. You're still in research mode. But if you are in and you're ready to get started, you need to do that, and then you need to have a list meeting. What's a list meeting? A list meeting is where you go over the people on that list and talk, a little bit more about invite. Okay, and what do you say to them and who these people are so that they can help you? Sign up for Exco Pro at excopro.com. We just talked about that. Order your business tools. At this website we're going to give you when we wind down, there's a sheet that you can print with recommended tools. You can get a CD for $1.50. You're going to probably want to get 10 or 15 business CDs, 10 or 15 product CDs. These are great follow-ups for people that have been on the webinars and things. View the training presentation in your My Mangosteen back office. A My Mangosteen back office is if you've looked at Zango at all, you've probably looked at somebody's website with some videos on it. There's a video with some people. There's just, you've been emailed a link to a website. That is our My Mangosteen website. All of us have what's called a back office. And in that back office, there's a great training presentation, some great stuff. And then get 5 new people on a webinar this week. I know Melissa on our team, I think, probably has about 5 people getting on tonight. She's brand new in our business. And you know what she did? She turned around. She made a list. She's going after that list and just really doing awesome. And then stay in daily contact with your sponsor or upline. Work as a team. I know we have a lot of people on this webinar that are from the 3-step plan. I have a feeling, because there's a lot of people on this team that use it. And I'll just tell you got to work extra hard with your relationship with your upline. You can't go MIA for 2 or 3 weeks because before you signed up in Zango, you didn't know your upline. My upline's Anna Gabriel Mann. I met her through the 3-step plan. Her and her husband, John, are best friends of my wife, Jocelyn, and I today. She was talking to my wife, Jocelyn, as she was driving to the airport to go to Singapore this morning. I was sleeping. And, so that's the type of relationship you want to have because they're going to be the ones in the trenches with you when everything doesn't always go perfectly. So work as a team and then go 1K. So as far as getting started, there's a website here. Make note of it. I'll keep it up here for a few minutes. We're going to have to shut down a little bit because the next webinar is coming. GoTeamNextSteps.com. Username is GoTeam2. The password is training. And what this website has, it has 7 steps, but also it's not listed on the left there because we've updated the website. There's a section under inviting. You'll see it along the left. You've got Go Team Next Steps. You've got Getting Started. You've got Invite Training, I think it's called. You will be able to find 2 things there. There's a webinar that we have done on inviting people to look at webinars, and then there's also that Justin Prince training that talks about what we were talking about tonight. So you can watch the webinar and you can listen to the recording, and it's excellent. But don't cheat yourself. Number 1 is print the checklist there and go through it. It'll tell you how to do exactly everything that you need to do. And if you go through this, now if you have somebody, if you signed up somebody and you're on this webinar tonight hoping that I do a good job and get them started right, your job is to get back with that person who's new on the webinar tonight and make sure that together as a team you follow through on the steps here. Don't put it off. This business is worth so much to you if you look at it as a long-term type of thing. Remember, Zango's the next billion-dollar giant. There's 13 or so billion-dollar companies in our industry, and most of all of them, their biggest growth years were years 7 through 20. Zango just finished year 7, so we're just getting started. It's never been more exciting. We've never had things more dialed in than we have right now, and your team and your upline has never been more active. So take advantage of their efforts, skills, and abilities, and let's make the next 100 days between now and the end of the year life-changing. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you tuning in tonight, and be sure to tune in to Art Manville tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. You can register for the webinar at goteamwebinar.com. This is Mike Raish. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.